Good morning. I'm attorney Gary Finklea from the Finklea Law Firm in Florence, South Carolina. Today I'd like to speak with you regarding land zoning, particularly as it relates to the City of Florence. This past week I had an opportunity to help a client in regard to some zoning issues in the city. And zoning is a greatly misunderstood subject. Not a lot of folks understand zoning or the zoning ordinance in the City of Florence, or quite frankly, for any zoning ordinance. I often find even sometimes the commissioners on the planning commission or City of Florence or the city councils don't understand zoning as much as I do, or as much as they should when deciding a land use issue. What is zoning? Zoning is primarily regulates the use of property. The use of property. For today, I just primarily want to focus my attention on residential zoning. In the City of Florence, and right now the County of Florence, there are 5 zoning districts. There are R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5. The difference between R1 and R2 really don't have anything to do with uses. The uses are the same. They're single-family residential properties, single-family detached, that is. The only difference is the size of the lots. Oftentimes I have folks calling me wanting to buy property in the city, and they ask, how many acres is it? And, you know, when we're in the city, we don't measure properties by the acre, we do it by the square feet. In R1 district, the minimum square foot is 15,000 square feet. The frontage has to be 100-foot minimum, therefore generally the depth is 150. In an R2 district, the minimum square feet has to be 10,000 square feet, and of course that's a little less than a quarter of an acre. On that, the minimum frontage has to be 80 feet. The other districts, R3, R4, and R5, they differ not only in the size of the lot, but also in the use. In R3, you can only have single-family attached or detached. In other words, you can do a townhouse in an R3. R4, you can have single-family attached, detached, but you can also have a duplex. In an R5, you can have all the below plus multifamily, your large apartment complexes. So those are the difference in zoning, residential zoning in the City and County of Florence. Now, the process for zoning your property, let's say, for example, you wanted to cut out a lot in a large tract that was in the City or County of Florence. You know, first you have to see if it's zoned. If it's zoned, whatever lot that you cut out has to comply with the zoning district. For example, if you want to cut out, if you're zoned R1 and you want to cut out a lot, it has to be that 15,000 square foot minimum. Next, you have to make sure that your use complies with your zoning. For example, if you wanted to build a townhouse, like 2 or 3 houses hooked together, you would have to make sure that you were in at least an R3 zone. You couldn't do a townhouse in an R1 or R2. The process for getting your property rezoned is first filing an application with the planning department. It would be the City Planning Commission or the County Planning Commission in Florence. You fill out that application. I think there's a $150 filing fee with that. You file the application. It comes up for public hearing before the Planning Commission. At that time, the applicant and those in favor and opposition get an opportunity to speak regarding the issue. After the Planning Commission makes a recommendation, then it goes up to the governing body. And it takes 2 readings to pass. Therefore, generally, a rezoning process takes a minimum of 3 months. Sometimes it can be quicker, oftentimes it's longer, depending upon if there's opposition. Now, the politics in a rezone application can be quite significant at times. There is often a concern among surrounding property owners, well, you're not going to do that in my backyard. In the development world, it's called NIMBY, N-I-M-B-Y, not in my backyard, where they have an opposition to a particular use. Therefore, when you go to rezone a property and expect opposition, you have to be well prepared to resolve or satisfy the issues brought forth by those in the surrounding community. Often they're very legitimate concerns. Sometimes they're not. They're just come from emotion and feelings and not based upon any rational expectation of really what's going to happen. Hopefully your council members who decide the issue will look beyond politics and at the intent and spirit of the zoning ordinance and good planning procedures. And you know, with the county, I've had real good success With the City of Florence, not so much. They seem to be more influenced by politics and less by good planning principles. Lately, I haven't had the need to go before the Planning Commission because there hasn't been very much development. But in times past, of course, we faced a great deal of opposition for things that from a planning perspective should have passed, but from a political perspective, the council just didn't have the backbone to do the right thing. But if you need help with a zoning issue, please feel free to contact the Finklea Law Firm. We'll be glad to give you our advice. The staffs of both the city and the county, in my opinion, are very helpful in this process. Communicate with them as well. If we can help, you can reach us by phone, 843-317-4900, or by email, gfinkley@finkleylaw.com, or visit us on the internet at finkleylaw.com. Thank you.